Okay, we're showing live. Hey everybody, Larry Bailey, Mortgage Workflow Partners. It is like the week of live streams, mostly because these emails hit from ICE and I want to get this information out to everybody as soon as it comes out. If you're seeing the screen here, you can read along with the Consumer Connect 23.2 major release coming June 10th. So Consumer Connect got updated, ECS is getting updated, EDS got updated, I believe. TPO Connect got updated. So of course, Consumer Connect is following suit. And it's really important. This one's going to impact, obviously, a lot of companies using Consumer Connect. So if you're using Consumer Connect anywhere in your business, you need to listen up to what we're going to go through here. Extraordinarily important to follow along. So again, and if you're not getting these emails like you see here on screen, reach out to ICE, find out what the dealio is to make sure that you can get on the email distribution list, and of course make sure that you are make sure that you're getting them. And if for whatever reason you still can't figure it out and want me to kind of set up an auto forward rule for these, let me know. All right, so let's get into this Consumer Connect Encompass Consumer Connect release notes 23.2. There was an update that ICE did rolled out and actually added more to it. So the reason why, again, this is really important is because there are things that must be done if you're using Consumer Connect, and of course it must be done by next weekend. Some of these things you can do now, but otherwise you need to train your teams and also prepare for next weekend and the following days to make sure that you've got these things dealt with. So rather than go through all of this information, you can read you can read it on your own. Here's the meat and potatoes. There's a new default site setting. So again, if you've got only one Consumer Connect site in your entire universe, then you're totally fine. Nothing to do on this. But if you've got at least 2 Consumer Connect sites that you're leveraging, or 2 Consumer Connect widget sites, which I know people have, you got to pay attention to this, please. Otherwise, you're going to have problems, and I'll get into the details about this here in a second. So again, you can read along. It's basically there's a gotcha in here. There's the image, right? So we're on page 8 of 34 of the PDF. You need to go into the Consumer Connect site through Website Builder and pick which one is your default site. Now, you might be thinking like me, well, how do I know which is the default one? I got an answer for you here in a second. It's keeping the following points in mind. When a site is set as a default, the direct borrowers to Consumer Connect site option cannot be disabled, obviously. I'm going to explain why. For an instance, with a single site, when directing borrowers to Consumer Connect site is enabled and saved, the site will be set to the default site automatically, so nothing to do. But you must, if you have multiple sites, you must pick one. Here's the first reason why this is critically important, because ICE is changing the logic. And as you see, this was just added yesterday. So if you looked at these release notes before yesterday, you're not going to know about this. If you're not familiar with the field Consumer Connect site ID, it's all one string of letters. It's not visible. You have to basically add it to a custom input form to deal with it. And the logic here is that if the loan is not connected to a Consumer Connect site ID, it's 0. And what 0 tells Encompass is that when you send disclosures or e-consent out to a borrower, it directs them to a Loan Connect site, similar to a third party, right? So here's the deal. If you've got any business rules kind of tinkering around with the Consumer Connect site ID, you want to deal with this problem like now. Again, in terms of conversation about what you intend to do. Here's the logic of what ICE is doing. And I read it a couple of times before this, doing this live stream, because I wanted to understand, like, what would I do? Because I've got, Mortgage Workflow Partners. We've got the majority of our clients are running Consumer Connect sites. So we have to come up with a plan for all of our clients. And the reality is we need to make sure that the loan is not automatically putting a Consumer Connect site ID in there, A. B, we need to make sure in the organization/users that every single user has a Consumer Connect site ID tied to it. Now, in your organization/users folders, if you've got it set to inherit parent, that's great. But if the parent is blank, you got a problem, right? It'll be blank. And again, that's important because the way that the Encompass platform is going to run, it's going to look for the default site ID when the loan officer is not assigned. And this is when crazy things happen in Encompass. So if you go to a file that doesn't have a loan officer assigned, if that's your workflow, and you try to send the borrower e-consent, the borrower is going to be sent to a Loan Connect site. And you might be really not happy with that, and I get it. But the reality is, what's happening in support cases apparently is that when the either the loan officer didn't have a Consumer Connect site ID assigned to them in the organization/users setting, or the loan officer changes, had that happen, or you're dealing with TPO sites, had that happen. TPO Connect uses Consumer Connect for borrower side signing, right? And the TPO LO signs. So all of this impacts everybody. So in any event, I want you to read these bullets on your own and make sure you understand them, because if both conditions above here are false, 0 is going to be populated in that field. And historically speaking, Encompass admins don't like 0 in there. When we look at our pipeline reports, we want to make sure that there's always a value in Consumer Connect site ID. So what this logic is saying is like, hey, listen, that's true if you've got a loan officer assigned. And again, keep in mind, this is presuming that you've created the file on your own inside of Encompass Desktop or in the web, and that you've pushed the borrower into doing e-consent. If a borrower, of course, is coming from a Consumer Connect site, and that's how they've applied, none of this applies, right? Because the Consumer Connect site ID will already be tied to the loan. So in any event, here's what you need to do on this. And for 23.2, lenders, you need to review all business rules going around this Consumer Connect site ID. Use your base analysis tool to look for that. Hopefully you've not written anything into advanced code if you only have that basic analysis tool with Encompass. If you've got a third-party plugin that does any type of more global system analysis, make sure you look for that field. So again, look in everything that you're working with. And for partners, if any of partners are listening to this, make sure that you are reviewing your implementation logic for references to this field because of what's going on. So that's the big, to me, that's one of the big things in this release notes is updating the method to use to populate the Encompass Consumer Connect site ID. Again, just added yesterday. So you gotta stay on top of these things. The next thing is the ability to send a one-time password via email. The use case here is borrower doesn't have their phone. What they're not saying in here is the phone is with, you're using, your borrowers are using the same email address for more than one borrower because it's two people that trust each other and somebody got locked out, but the other person has the phone. That's the real use case here. Although they're not going to probably talk about that because no one does that, right? So in any event, if you turn this on, if you go into the Consumer Connect admin site, you allow borrowers to receive an OTP via email. You click it on. Here's a screenshot of that. Here's what will happen. You'll have to read that. You'll have to click yes. ICE Mortgage Technology is not responsible for any negative consequences due to your election to change the default setting. Make sure you're authorized to click continue in your company, just in case. So what that happens is when that's turned on, now the borrowers, when they log into Consumer Connect site, they'll have the option to request a passcode via email. It's right here at the bottom. Again, it's not very clear, but it's hopefully clear enough. So there'll be some borrower training, maybe some helpful videos on your website if you're using Consumer Connect in case a borrower tries to self-service their password reset. They'll get this email. It says, here's a one-time code. They'll enter the code on the screen that they got from the email, and life goes on. So that's pretty helpful. I think that'll be helpful for a lot of folks, again, when they've got shared email addresses, but they don't always have the same phone with them. So that'll be helpful. There's a new option to enable multi-factor authentication for Encompass Consumer Connect Admin Portal and Borrower Portal. Guys, if your company is an MFA kind of company, this is important for you. And we talked about this a little bit in the 23.2 Encompass release, the general release notes, where we talked about enabling the MFA in the admin tools. So basically, you go into the admin tools, here's a screenshot, and you've got this extra checkbox. If you went through and were part of the 23.2 Encompass release party, we talked about this. If you haven't done that, check out our YouTube channel, Mastering Encompass, and you can follow along. You can see what we talk about here. So in essence, if you enable MFA, you'll have to, it'll use their it's a smartphone number. It's their mobile number, cell phone number in Encompass. I guess it has to be a smartphone. I don't know. So anyway, when it's enabled, here's some screenshots about what happens. There's an authentication code. What do you want to do? Have them text it or call, then they verify it, and then they enter the code, right? For the borrower portal, here's some screenshots. We're on page 17 now. So here's some screenshots about what that experience is like, and how you have to turn that on. Again, we're in the Consumer Connect Admin. We're in the borrower loan portal, and now there's a security setting for enable multi-factor authentication, aka MFA, for borrower login. And so with MFA on, here's what the borrower's experience is like. They log in, they then have to say, okay, text or call me. And then that's it. Here's a call out again to try another way. Again, this goes right back to what we talked about a moment ago about the one-time passcode through email. Call back to that. Again, we talked about this in the 23.2 Encompass release party thing. There's a new persona setting. So if you have, typically it's loan processors or loan officer assistants, that's who's going to use this. Go into their persona, go to the Consumer Connect tab. You'll now see Web Assistant. So I'm going to read this out loud because it's funny the way it's typed to me, at least. With this new Web Assistant option, additional users can now log into the portal and assist loan officers with incomplete applications and borrower lookups while loan officers focus on generating new business and other tasks. Whatever. That strikes me as funny just because we use Consumer Connect for all kinds of things. And sometimes it just strikes me as funny. Just because I've been lending for 30 years, it strikes me as funny. So listen, here's the deal. If you have this enabled, you can further limit and manage those folks in the Consumer Connect Admin portal. Basically, you can select various permissions for web assistance, specifically for incomplete applications, statistics, and borrower lookup. Incomplete applications, maybe borrower lookup all the time, because borrowers forget their whatevers. They can't figure out their user account, or they can't figure out the website. I mean, if you haven't been on that end of the phone call, good for you. If you've been on that end of the phone call, this is a welcomed update. So make sure you take advantage of it. With this new enhancement, a new option on the left nav called Access Settings has been introduced, and that's over here. So Access Settings right here. And with that, you now have, again, for borrower lookup, you can make these choices. And what you see in there, again, look on page 23 out of 34, you'll see loan officer or assistant. Obviously, loan officer had it all the time. Now you've got the assistant. Cool. Next thing is new layout for all users, modal window. So basically, there's just an update if you want to look for all users for a particular loan. It'll now be in a tabular format, just in case there's multiple borrowers. So now you can easily work with that information. Thank you very much, ICE. On the loan application, this is very cool. Again, this is something everybody's been hoping for, and it just got added yesterday, June 1st. So now you have credit, asset, and income authorizations. So if you're using like the the verifications for credit or VOA or VOI, the authorization is now going to be in the E folder In addition, again, we covered this on the 23.2 release party. You now have, here's what it looks like, and you now have in the standard borrower summary origination input form, you now have these other fields. And gang, if you're using a custom borrower summary origination, get to work. You're going to have to update your custom input form with these fields if you want to enjoy these fields. If you don't care, then there's nothing to do. But just another reason why building your own custom input forms is great, but you've got maintenance for the rest of your life. So make sure you take care of those tasks. There's an update to lender credit discount points filter on loan programs page. So what we're talking about here is on the Consumer Connect loan applications. If you allow them to go through to run the credit, they're then brought into choosing a program. So basically product and pricing. If you don't allow them to run your credit, then you can't get to this. So if you've never seen loan programs on Consumer Connect, it's because you don't allow your borrowers to run the credit, so they can't pick their own programs. If you are doing this, the language has been updated to just say points, because everybody knows points. People had no idea what lender credit / discount points were, as they shouldn't. If they're not in the mortgage business, that's hard to follow. So that's been updated. If you're doing business in Massachusetts and you're displaying this, basically the font has to be at least 2 points larger than the rest of the application. So they had to increase the font. So this language now displays 2.7 pixels larger than the body text font on the Consumer Connect loan application. There you go, Massachusetts state law. Services, an update for services. Lenders now have the ability to set the default values for fields in the mortgage calculator that they provide on the Consumer Connect site. So if you are one of the folks who are displaying interest rates, you can now set default rates for the widget calculators on the Consumer Connect site. If you didn't know you could do that, now you know. So you can do that. Here's the thing. When you go in and display, this is what it looks like to the borrower in the rates calculator. There's been an enhancement to the layout, and I really call this out right here. It is recommended that you provide only one rate calculator widget on the same page in your borrower-facing site. And the reason for this is providing more than one rate calculator on the same page could lead to possible difficulty in understanding which rates are returned for each calculator after the borrower clicks get rates, because again, this is on one page. So be aware. All right, we're getting to the end here. Another enhancement for Borrower Portal. You can now have your borrowers have a great place to go to do their e-closing via Simplifile. And so now they can go back to their Consumer Connect site, and to which they've always been using, of course. And now they can go into the closing section and for the Simplifile, and they can do their closing thing. Here's a sample screen. So that's really cool. A couple last feature enhancements here. There's a new user-facing message provided when a document package cannot be loaded. So basically, it's a new message here. We could not load your tasks. I wish, I don't know about that. Could not load your tasks. Anyway, if you see this message, make sure that you get with your, communicate with your borrowers so they know what to do. That's all. There's new e-consent agreement language. This is also, it was just added yesterday. So if you've had your e-consent language approved already by your internal legal counsel, now would be the time to let them know that it's changing. So make sure you get a copy and make sure that nobody has any questions. How's that? So those are all the feature enhancements so far. I guess, I don't know, I guess maybe code lockout was June 1st. I can't believe they're still throwing features in here, which is awesome. So thank you, ICE. But I wouldn't expect many more, seeing how releases in 8 days. Some fixed issues. We had borrower passwords. So I don't know if you ever had this issue, but borrower passwords can now be reset more than once. So some lenders experience an issue where they could not reset a borrower's password more than one time. That's been solved according to this documentation. And that is the only fixed issue. So if you are expecting more fixed issues, I encourage you to keep on putting those ideas in the idea center on the Encompass forum. Make sure if there's anything serious, create a case, get it escalated through your ICE mortgage technology representatives, and work with other companies that are having similar problems. Connect with them on the plethora of communities. If you don't know of any communities, get over to mortgage.community and talk it up with other Encompass admins and myself, because that's where I spend a lot of my time helping people with general questions. Here's the release notes. So again, yesterday, 3 entries were added, and that's the end. Gang, this is pretty awesome stuff. I know I've been saying this, and trust me, if you know me, you know that I am I'm not afraid to speak my mind and not afraid to call something out. These updates have been really awesome. Thanks, ICE Mortgage Technology, from from a lot of folks, by keeping these updates coming, keep pushing, keep making things better. Everybody appreciates it, from lenders to brokers to consumers. So any questions at all, please give me a shout, 888-522-7181. You can follow these live events typically only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays at 4 o'clock Eastern, Thursdays at 1 o'clock Eastern. And we have open hours for 30 minutes. You can head over to masteringencompass.com. It'll link you right to the Zoom meeting. Make sure you're logged in to Zoom to join. And if not, just follow along here on all our streaming channels. We'll catch you next time. Make sure you get your Encompass Consumer Connect plan in place for the release coming out on June 10th. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.